good evening, good morning, good night, whatever time of day you're watching this, welcome. I'm Bette Bolhofer, and I'm the PQD, and potentially maybe, if all things go well, maybe possibly the next district director of District 57, but I'm not gonna make any assumptions about that. It's a big, wild world. But anyways, I do thank you all for joining. I know we all go to a lot of Toastmaster meetings. I already went to one earlier today. So I really appreciate you guys taking some time for Toastmasters and spending your hour with us. But we're gonna have a jam-packed session, and I'm very excited about our esteemed panel. Today we're talking about leading beyond the club. And I have a vision for the next year, and I think whoever wins, it's probably gonna be their vision too. But basically, to have enough volunteers that no one has to be a hero. Just having enough chairs that people can all do a small part and grow and learn in the way that they want to without having to do heroic efforts. So just before we start, I want to see if other people are excited about that kind of vision for the next district year. Can I get an amen? All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen, amen, right? So we have an esteemed panel. I'm just gonna do quick introductions. We have Diane, who has been a TRIO member, also area director and division director. And Brenda Carol Walker, who is our current Friday night evening chair. Brenda, can you confirm that you were a conference chair? Yes, you were an area director and division director, and you won division director of the year. Congratulations.
And yes, I was a conference chair.
You were a conference chair. That's what I
chair as well.
Do you remember
yes,
that?
Fall conference, yeah, the last fall conference a couple
yes,
years
I remember.
back. Yes.
Awesome. And Gagabir, who is our finance manager. Gagabir, did you have any other roles besides that? All right, she might be on mute. Yeah. Kevin is a TRIO member. He was the PRM and an area director and a division director. And
hey, Kevin.
I think you said you conference co-chaired before. Anything else you want to add to your list of experience?
And helping out with speech crafts and sponsoring clubs and probably a bunch of other things I don't even remember doing that had no official title.
Okay, that's awesome. And Lisa Fairchild, who was an area director last year, and this year she's a Knock'em Dead division director.
Awesome.
Lisa, have you done any other roles that I just am forgetting about? All right, sounds like there aren't any other ones. Okay, so that's our introduction to our panel. Lisa, did you do anything else?
I've done a bunch of things, as like Kevin said. I consider myself the contest queen for division contests, and I've been on demo teams and lots of open house things. But
wonderful, awesome. Yeah, so we have a really great variety of skills today. I think some people think about district leadership and they just think about the TRIO, or they just think about an area director, but there are a lot of different roles, and we're going to go into what some of those are. So I'm going to hand it over to Diane to talk about the big seven? The big seven roles. And then I'm going to be talking about the chairs, which are so vital and you can learn so much from them. So let me turn it over to Diane Floyce, the immediate past district director.
Hello all.
Hello.
Let's start with the TRIO and the head of the TRIO, the district director, which of course this year is Kevin. I think the most important thing that the district director needs to do is to set the vision and provide the leadership. They are going to be working with their team. Again, keep in mind, this is leadership. It is not doership. So you are working with other TRIO members, with the division directors, the area directors. You're overseeing the operations, the finance, the HR, but most importantly, you've got a team that is helping. And you need to empower that team to work together towards the district goals. And of course, we look at being a distinguished district or better. So we always want to have that distinguished district or better attitude. Requirements: 6 consecutive months as a club president and 12 consecutive months as program quality director, club growth director, or division director, or some combination thereof. The program quality director, of course, in Toastmaster language, we always have our abbreviation, so we call that PQD. They are responsible for everything related to education and training. They'll promote the Distinguished Club Program, the DCP. They'll plan and execute the district conference, participate in district leader training, mid-year training, etc. They support the clubs with quality programming. Requirements are 6 consecutive months as a club president and 12 consecutive months as either a club growth director, division director, or area director. And I'll have to say, when I was district director, I think because I had been on Brenda's team as part of the conference chair, that I kind of liked that and embraced that. And even though it was technically Kevin's area, he said, if you like it, just run with it, which we worked together well. And I appreciate that. Then we go to club growth director. So the last person of the trio. And they're responsible for all the marketing efforts, the club building, the member retention, the club retention. So anything related to that falls to the CGD, which doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but that's what we call it. Their requirements are pretty much the same: 6 consecutive months as club president, 12 consecutive months as program quality director, division director, area director. So that's the trio. Any questions on any of those positions?
And Diane, just because we are limited on time, I'm going to just hold all the questions. We have a whole 20 minutes of questions.
Okay.
So please, everyone, just write down your questions and we will definitely have time for those.
Okay. Then I'll talk about a couple more positions. The PR manager, they are primarily responsible, as you'd expect, for all the publicity efforts. They want to increase Toastmaster awareness through all available media. When we get to these next positions, they can either be elected or they can be appointed. And they can also be re-elected or reappointed for 1 term. The next position would be the admin manager. And that person is responsible for maintaining accurate and timely records and keeping the minutes and distributing the minutes. This position, again, can be elected or appointed, can be re-elected or reappointed, and the admin manager, that position can be combined with the finance manager. Which brings us to the finance manager. A critical position, responsible for fiscal oversight. They help make cost-effective decisions. They should be familiar with accounting and financial management. Again, they can be elected or appointed. Last year, William Wilson was our finance manager and just did, I thought, a phenomenal job. Wanted to make certain that clubs were reimbursed as soon as possible, made many trips to all of our houses so checks could get signed, and really watched over things well. And then we go to our division directors. They lead and support the division through the supervision and support of the area directors. They assure that the club achieves its mission, fulfills its responsibilities to its members. They coordinate the division activities, the training, the contests, everything related to that. So all of the area directors would report to the division directors and make sure that they're on task. And of course, the area directors are working with their clubs to make sure that the clubs are engaged, that the members are hitting their goals, that they're supporting them, looking for future leaders at club level, encouraging, and getting that involvement to start. So those are some of the main roles.
Thank you so much, Diane. That was wonderful. And we're going to be talking more about how to apply for those roles at the later part of the call, but please pay attention as we go into that soon. I'm going to share my screen now because I have a bunch of chair positions that are not official roles, but they sometimes are a lot more fun than those official roles, but also you can learn a lot from them. So let's go into the chair position, and I'm going to go ahead and can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm going to be able to share this spreadsheet after the call with everyone who signed up. So let's go to the chair. Club Growth Extension Chair. They report to the Club Growth Director, and they're really all about starting clubs. They're the people who are out there hitting the pavement, qualifying leads, running kickoff meetings, and they recruit a team. So what you learn is sales skills, qualifying leads. This is a real way to increase your sales skills, which is something that is very valuable in real life. By the way I've laid out the chairs is which group you're part of, what your responsibilities are, what you learn, and the average commitment for a month. So some of these jobs, it's maybe you only work a few times a year, right? Like conference. So it's kind of an average throughout the year. So if you're doing conference, you may be doing more things around the time when you're planning a conference and less otherwise. But that's the kind of layout, and I'll be sharing this document. And really what I would love to share with you guys as I go through this, that these roles are like an MBA. If you think about an MBA, how many hours a week would you spend on an MBA? And also how much money would you spend on an MBA? I would say that Diane, Kevin, and I, and I'm hoping that everyone else on this call has learned the level of skills that you would pay maybe $20,000, $50,000 for at an MBA. But we've learned those for $750 a month, no extra cost. So I'm just gonna put that out there. So Club Extension Chair is amazing. Club Coach Chair, this is really learning how to program manage a whole bunch of coaches, qualifying them, mentoring them, helping them stay in contact with their clubs. It's a really rewarding chair. Renewals Chair, how do we get our members to pay their renewals? How do we make it easy? How do we make it fun, right? So half of it is teaching them, half of it is just getting the word out. So you would learn a lot of program management. You would learn about new payment systems. Open House Chair, this has been a hugely successful role since we've added it. And they're basically another marketing. You get to speak in front of a lot of people. So lots of good things to learn. Conference Chair, I think all of us think about the conference chair because it's a huge role. So very large. You have a $30,000 budget that you're managing. So if you need to put something on your resume about managing a budget, this is a role that will get you that. You're going to be booking speakers. Chief Judge, you're dealing with a lot of details and rules. It requires a lot of detail orientation and recruiting. Contest Chair, I think we all probably understand that. I'm just going to jump down. Membership Education Chair, Cynthia Saw has been amazing helping me pull together a lot of people to staff all of our training events. So this is a really awesome recruiting job. Education. We're going to be just having pathways next year. So the education chair would be the person who's trying to keep track of actually I have these ones backwards. So the officer education chair is the person who pulls in trainers, and member is about how do we promote pathways. Train the Trainer. This is a huge event, again, with another large budget. So you're running a very large event for Train the Trainer with marketing and all that goes along with that. TLI Dean, this person runs 6 conferences a year. This is a huge item to put on your resume. Very, very big responsibility, very rewarding. Masterclass Chair is a new area that's teaching webinars. HPL Chair, YLP, I can't even go into all these. We have so many great things. Awards and incentives chair. This person really, it's half marketing and half statistician. You're gathering data, you're trying to see who's won. It's all about recognition. It's very rewarding. Conference finance chair, someone to help with the budget. Moving down, realignment, maybe a little bit less sexy, but maybe not so much time. You can make a big impact and still be involved. Audit committee, another way to put some finance on your resume. Maybe you have other skills and you want to round out your resume with some finance. Parliamentarian, definitely something that is maybe not for everyone, but it could be a very interesting learning experience, keeping a meeting in order. So we have a lot of other items on here. I can't go into all of it, but the PRM has a bunch of chairs that I really want to get filled so that we can do a lot more marketing next year. And with that, I'm going to have to stop because I'm timing myself. And now I'm going to turn it over to more of a panel discussion where we get to hear from our revered panelists about their experiences. And I'm going to ask them specifically, what did they learn? What are the benefits? So let's go ahead and let me pull up my agenda. Let's just start with Diane. Diane, what did you learn from the different roles? And maybe pick one and just kind of focus on that so we don't jump around too much. But I'll go ahead and turn to Diane.
Okay. I would talk about the district director, and I learned how willing people were to help, that they wanted to be part of a team, they wanted to succeed, they were willing to give, they had fabulous ideas, they worked together as a team, and they came together. So I thought that was a pretty amazing experience, and think that Toastmasters in general are good, giving people that want to contribute and very willing to help out.
Thank you, Diane. So benefits are, that sounds wonderful. Let's move to Brenda. Brenda, which position do you want to talk about? And go ahead and tell us what you learned from it. What are the benefits to you?
Actually, I'll talk about the division director. As a division director, what did I learn? I learned that if you give your team the tools and resources, they will carry you to distinguish and beyond. I learned that even as I was learning and teaching, I was learning from my group. I was getting the resources, and I had past Toastmasters who were able to help me with questions that came up. So it taught me to be more informed about what I wanted. It taught me about time management, about asking specifically for what I need. And it taught me about networking and actually looking to help other people do the same thing or more than what I was doing at that time. So I really appreciate being a division director. I appreciate it trusting my team that if once given the resources, they would be able to go out and get the job done, whatever it is they needed to get done. And also, I appreciated their feedback. So I had fun with it, so can't beat it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Had fun and learned all of those things. Awesome. Thank you so much, Brenda. Let's talk to Gagambir. Something that I think we forget that we have is a finance manager. So you're managing a budget of $120,000. Tell us about that. What are you learning from it?
First, there are lots of things that I've learned in the last 6 months, and I'm going to highlight 3. Number 1 is I learned the organization skills. The thing is that I have so many documents to take care of it, but the way to take care of it, how to organize it, And I really got this complimented the audit that the documents were very well organized. Second thing that I learned is how to communicate with people. You know, you want to give them money back, but you have to give them in the right way at right time. So you learn that skill to how to communicate with so many people at time, and remembering that they don't have the finance background. So you have to explain them. So that's a very good practice I did. And thirdly, which I say that it was a great opportunity to learn finance on my own pace. There were a lot of people to help around. There were a lot of people who supported me during the mistakes I made, the things went wrong, but we fixed it all on time. And I'm sure we reimbursed every check on time, right, Kevin? And where else in this world you will get an opportunity to play with the real money? This was a wonderful experience for me, definitely. It's a great organization skills, communication, and to connect with a lot of people. Thank you.
Gaggenbier, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And you were so organized. Double points for Gaggenbier. All right, let's move to Kevin. Kevin, which role and what did you learn?
I'm going to talk about, I think, my favorite district officer role, right? So I moved all the way up to the top. My favorite role actually through the years was being an area director, believe it or not. My favorite role. You know, it was interesting. You know, I'd been in Toastmasters already for a couple of years and kind of, okay, I could figure out how to communicate. But a board of directors said something really interesting. He said at one of our conferences, he said, when you first join the workforce, yeah, you need to learn how to communicate with others. But if you want to grow your career, you need to learn how to lead others. And that's really a skill that you really begin to start honing in some really interesting ways as an area director. You know, you need to motivate people to show up to training, to get involved in contests. You might have some clubs that might be struggling a little bit. You have to coach, you have to mentor them. I remember working with one club that had to find a new venue, right? How do you solve that challenge and empower them to do that? And of course, you need to be good with numbers, right? What are the clubs doing well? What are the clubs need to be focusing on to be successful? And all those things are really critical if you want to be a manager, a people manager. You have to motivate, you have to coach them, and you need to know your numbers so that you can really guide and provide a really big impact in the office. So a great opportunity to build relationships and to develop some really interesting skills.
Kevin, I'll send you a check later because that was amazing motivational speech. And Lisa, which role do you want to talk about and what did you learn?
I will also talk about area director because we've had lots of division directors. It's a very interesting role. I think in some ways area director, and I'm going to do the honest thing, not that everyone else isn't, but the challenge is that you need to get yourself invited into the clubs. They're not necessarily dying to have you there. So really being of service to them and going in and just observing and seeing what they're about instead of trying to, this is what you got to do, this is how you do it. I had some epic, during Diane's term, epic fails as an area director because I didn't pay attention to that. So I think the value is really learning kind of the emotional intelligence piece of managing, is really getting in, understanding the culture, understanding the dynamics, learning how to invite people into leadership. I've learned tremendous amount about how simple recognition and calling attention to them about what they're doing well really can invite them to step up, and then they invite you to be more a part of it. There's tremendous learning in terms of just the breadth of skills and styles that are available in clubs and in leaderships, and learning to navigate all of that. It's a fun role. It's a really fun role.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. So I put myself on the panel and I think I have time to plug something. So I was going to plug area director, but you guys both have done such a good job. I just want to say one quick thing about area director is that mentoring my presidents was one of the most rewarding things that's ever happened to my life. One of the presidents, he barely had just become the president. I think maybe he wasn't the president. Yeah, I think he had not even become the president yet. And I mentored him to become the president. And then he went on to become an area director. And then he went on to become later on the club growth and then PQD and then district. So watching someone grow over all that time is just immensely rewarding. The other role I want to plug is being a coach, something we haven't actually talked that much about, but is a really important part of all of this. Being a coach to a club is another way that we can all grow, because we can't boss people around when it's they're just like a coach. What is a coachee? Anyways, we can't boss them around. We really have to work through influence and understand their culture. A lot of things that Lisa said. So that's another area. And when you're an area director, you definitely can become a coach and really get in there and partner with your clubs. So that's my 2 cents. By the way, being the PQD is definitely one of the most amazing jobs. And having this budget that we have to manage is very, very good for my career personally. The benefits, I have gotten 2 promotions and now I'm the CTO of a startup just from the experience from this. And now I'm going to move to the next section of our meeting, which is the commitments and responsibilities. We've been talking a lot about the fun parts of it, but what about the responsibilities? What about that work that we have to do? And I really do want people to talk honestly about time commitments and some of the things that they had to do, because it's not all sunshines and roses. It is pretty, there's things to do. And like, again, I compare it to an MBA. When you do an MBA, you have homework, you have responsibilities, you have to turn things in, and there are time limits on things. So let's hear from Diane about the responsibilities of, I guess maybe you want to go with the vision or district director or whichever role you want to talk about. Please go ahead and share, Diane. Thanks.
Sure. Well, in candor, I spent a lot of time, but I liked it and it was my choice to spend time. And I felt because I spent the time, I was also rewarded with more volunteers. And I think it helped in other areas. I didn't have to twist arms. People were willing to do things. So I also had a pretty major learning curve, because even though I had done a number of roles, area director, division director, speechcraft chair, credentials chair, contest chair, I hadn't done the 2 other positions of the trio. So I had a lot to learn and would be calling TI frequently or verifying things with them to make sure that I was doing it right, which again takes additional time. So when you go through the traditional route, you're learning some of those things. And I also believe that when you're looking ahead, so if you're an area director and you're thinking you might like to move up to a division director, you pay attention a little bit more, and maybe you build some more relationships, you lay the groundwork. And I don't think I had as much groundwork as I would have liked to have. But still would absolutely recommend it, but it does take some time.
Excellent. And my spreadsheet does list how many hours I'm estimating for each of these roles. So some time will be clarified in the spreadsheet. Let's move to Brenda. Brenda, what position do you want to talk about, and what about the responsibilities and time commitments?
I actually want to talk about both the division director and the area director. I think this will be a good learning talk. I was an area director before I became division director. And as an area director, of course, I enjoyed it because I was able to go out and visit the clubs. The time commitment, visiting twice a year, planning the contest twice a year, it's a bit of time. But let me say this about time commitments is that it really is about what you put into it. You know, it basically tells you you need to visit twice a year and you need to put in a report twice a year. But really, in order to get the most out of your experience in Toastmasters, you need to make the connection with your clubs, right? So it would behoove us all to visit those clubs and meet with people more often than once a year. So area director, I really enjoyed, and division director, not as much time, as not so much hands-on, but it works as well. Thank you so much.
I appreciate a good timer, Brenda. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Gaggenbeer, I know this is the one that's going to break the bank here. So Gaggenbeer, I just want to remind everyone that if you got an MBA in finance, you would be spending a lot of time. So Gaggenbeer, how much time do you spend and what are your responsibilities?
Interesting question. I would say, first thing I would like to say is once you have done the work, you feel accomplished. Whether when I have mailed the check, it gives me immense happiness that I have done the thing and the person is happy, the check is right on time. So that satisfaction takes a little bit more time. The first quarter takes a little bit more time because you roll into a system and you try to understand how the accounting software is working or how we process the check, how you're going to meet the district director. So it takes initial time to set up, but later you need 8 to 10 hours a week to process the things. And the role and responsibilities are, there are 5 actually. The first is to prepare a budget. You work with the trio and make the financial plan. Second is the biggest one, which goes around the year, is to process the claims, make the payments, collect the vouchers, print the check, and get it signed from the district director. And don't forget, you also sign all the checks. Yes. Third thing is reconciliation of bank accounts. And there are 3 accounts we have: Bank of West, District Reserve, and Eventbrite. So we reconcile every month. I reconcile all these accounts. The fourth thing is to submit quarterly reports to the Toastmasters International, and we tell them the reason for the variance. We budgeted a number, but the actual number is different and why it is. So that's a quarterly report we submit. And the last thing is that I present the finance report at the DECM. DECM is District Executive Council meeting where we present where we are standing in terms of finance. So these 5 things we do. And I would say the best thing is there are so many people around you to help you. So don't feel alone. This is not you're not alone. There are a lot of people to help you around. It's just if you make an effort to ask, there will be a lot of people around you. And where else in this world you will get an opportunity to do such things? And this experience is priceless.
Wow, that's amazing. All for $750 a month. Kevin, what about you? How much time do you spend and what are your responsibilities? And you can pick any specific position that you want to.
Yeah, let's talk about the ground floor, my favorite role. I kind of have there's kind of like 3 buckets here that you should think about, right? You get out of it what you put in. There's gonna be some people who wanna say, I'm gonna be an area director because it's gonna give me credit for something and I'm gonna do the bare minimum. I'm gonna visit my clubs, each club twice a year, right? So you can do the math, how many hours that is. If you want to build the relationships, right? Because you want to ask something from your clubs, I think you need to visit them more. I would plan on visiting each club in your area 4 times a year. So you can do the math, how many hours that is. Add in a monthly leadership team meeting. If you run some area council meetings a couple times a year, you start thinking about organizing a contest, helping out with some other contests. All that though, as I'm talking about, this is all planned time. You can plan this well in advance, right? You can decide when you want to visit your clubs. And if a time doesn't work, you can swap with somebody else to make it work, right? So, and the last thing that I think is really helpful is, there's working harder, which is I'm just going to spend more hours on it versus working smarter, right? Working smarter is asking for help, getting guidance rather than hitting your head on a brick wall when you're having trouble doing what you need to do. So I think you get in what you put in. You get out what you put in. There's planned and unplanned time, but most of it you can plan for. And you can work smart and really effectively and as an area director in really all the roles, Bet.
Work smart. I like it. Let's move over to Lisa. And Lisa, which role do you want to talk about? Responsibilities and time commitment.
I will talk about area director, division director, and I'm going to kind of echo some of the things that Kevin said. Is there are specific requirements, a DECM once a month, that's a 3 hours on a Saturday, your area visits, your contests, and all of those take a little bit of time. I want to say that I echo what Brenda said, is I don't know how I couldn't, let me say it this way, I didn't feel like I could write a good area director's report by visiting my club once. I think it takes, in my opinion, a minimum of 2 meetings. And then I get a sense of what's going on and how much support they need. And I know that I chose, and again, my choosing was both in what I wanted to do, but what my goals for being a leader and Toastmaster were too, is to go spend time with clubs that were struggling, and just giving them that extra attention paid off for me, and it paid off for them. So I think that you really can put into it what you want. And as Kevin said, is you can also be a community and ask other people to support you. It really, I'm a big fan from membership all the way up to Toastmasters is here to serve us. We have to decide what it is that we want, where we're going in our careers, and how this serves us. And you put in the amount of time commensurate with the rest of the way I approach my goals, or how I get to where I want to go the next level. So I think time-wise, it's not a huge time commitment. I think it's doable for most people. And the more you put in, the more you learn.
I'm hearing a resounding message of putting something in and getting something out that is probably a lot more. So I want to add my 2 cents in here. When I started Toastmasters, I probably everyone's heard this story. I was a very shy software engineer, and now I'm the CTO of a company, which is beyond my wildest dreams. And it's specifically because of the skills I've learned in managing a team, putting together the budget. Really, the budget has been the biggest thing for me. And what is my time commitment? I had to say that again, because literally I probably put 20 hours in for half of this term. And then now things are calming down. We just have the conference coming up, but it is like an MBA. And I actually wrote out my specific goals that I wanted to learn at the beginning. And being very strategic in what you want to learn keeps you motivated when you do have a lot of hours. But the benefits, I'm just echoing, are huge. And I've never had a better 2 years of my life. So 20 hours a week, I probably think if we had more chairs and more people helping, which is my goal for having this meeting, bit more people helping means everyone does a little bit less. And I'm planning to really set up everything. And I have all my DECMs scheduled. It's the first Saturday of every month, unless there's like a conference or it's Christmas, but pretty much every Saturday, the first Saturday of every month. So we know the schedule. There's no heroes required. Everyone can do their part and be very strategic in what they want to learn. At this time, I'm going to turn over to Diane to say, everyone's sold right now, right? Everyone's really excited on the call. They all want to join. So Diane, can you tell us what's the process to join the team for District 57 2020-2021?
Sure. The easiest way is to go to the d57tm.org website. Thank you to the webmaster and all the folks who nicely set this up. If you go to the top right tab that says District Tools, and the first item on the pull-down menu says 2021 District Officer Nominations. You'll go there and you'll see information on the positions that are elected, background requirements, And you'll also see the 3 documents that are needed. There's the candidate application, the officer agreement and release statement, and the biographical info. So if you go to that d57tm.org/nominate, you can go there that way as well. You'll see the click here, click here, click here, where you can download all of the documents, submit those directly to me by Monday, March 2nd. And we can then vet the people that are applying. And certainly you can nominate someone or you can self-nominate.
And so these are for all the official, meaning the 7 or so roles: area director, division director, club growth, PQD, district director, and of course the PRM, finance, admin, and logistics. Yes, which is another great, it's like the Sergeant Arms for the district. Also, I would love it if you are interested in being any of the chairs. Just go ahead and add your name here, send stuff to Diane, because she will give that to me, and then we'll talk more over the next few months so we can put you in the right slot to meet what your goals are. And me as a leader, I really want to help people reach their goals. Now we have 20 minutes, 19 minutes ready for questions. So let's go ahead and open the floor. 20 whole minutes just for you. We're all ready to answer the questions. Who wants to go first? Don't be shy.
I have a few questions. I don't know if we just start out with one, maybe. This is Kate.
Just Kate, tell
Yeah.
us.
So I have a question about the hierarchy of Toastmasters and how your roles then fit in with, say, the region and so on, and what the relationship is and commitment. You know, reporting, visiting, so on. I know you travel for training and so on.
Yeah, maybe Kevin can take this question.
Yes. Let me go find. So, I'm trying to find a great image here. There we go. Let me share my screen, because that I think will help everybody
Some kind of a chart.
see what they need to see. Here we go. So it's right over here. There's this whole map of service to members.
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing the members here on the top because they're the most important.
Right.
And obviously the people at World Headquarters are on the bottom here. So members typically start at the club level, they become a club officer, and then they say, okay, I'm going to become an area director. They spend time as an area director and move up onto division, and then at the district level, right, where you have the executive committee, which is our area and division directors, but then all these like chairs and all these other roles. And here's where it gets interesting, right? So my boss is a regional advisor, and there are about 14 regional advisors around the world. And they're there to coach and mentor and guide all the district directors, club growth directors, and program quality directors. And they report up to the international president. So our regional advisor is Cindy Latch, and she reports up to Deepak Menon. She is responsible to him, and I am responsible to her. And then you have a whole bunch of board of directors. The board of director serves each a 2-year term, and they make more strategic decisions about the organization. Right, so the region advisors are like the coaches, and the board of directors are making strategic decisions about the organization. So it's kind of a high level overview of kind of the different members and how they work through the different roles at the district level, and then how we have regional advisors and board of directors who are above us. I hope that answered your question, Kate.
Yeah, it's a sort of an organizational chart. I was looking for something a little more about I'm sure we want to project that District 57 is the best of all districts in Toastmasters, right? And we do that with our numbers. We do that with our involvement, our reputation, and so on. And so I just wondered if that relationship is encouraged by, say, yourself or Diane, whatever. Do we make an effort to sort of extend our people up to the, occasionally becoming a regional director and so on? I mean, do we have a good influence?
This is
Yes.
Diane.
Go ahead, Diane.
One thing I'd like to add there is that when I was district director, the regional advisor had monthly calls, and there would be roughly half a dozen other district directors on the calls, and we'd talk about what we're doing, what worked well, what was coming up. We'd plan, we'd share ideas, we'd share best practices. Sometimes the regional advisor would share with us what some other people were doing on the East Coast or the South or wherever. So I felt that was a great conduit to talk about problems of things that we're having, but also to troubleshoot and brainstorm and then share what was working well.
And best practices kind of effect. Okay,
Just
so
Yeah,
quickly.
it comes up here, sort of like our area. I'm an area director, so the area directors, and we exchange ideas and so on, and come up with the best approach for things, and that seems to be working. So as we go up in Toastmasters, I suppose that it's the same thing. It's you're slightly competitive, but slightly you're in a peer group, and that's what I wanted to know is how do we fit in there? And I think you've answered that question.
I'm just going to take 20 seconds, Bet, and then we'll move on to another question. So Todd Henry was a regional advisor. He's a member of our district. Michael Notaro used to be the president of Toastmasters International.
Mm-hmm.
We've had other board members, like Naomi Takeuchi is a board member with Toastmasters. When I go to mid-year training, I talk with the CEO, the CFO, the CIO about what's going on. So we definitely have relationships where we exchange ideas, and we've had members who have moved up into those senior roles.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I want to add something about mid-year training because, Kate, I think you mentioned that. So mid-year training is I think 2-day or 3-day, it may be just 2 days, but it's very, very long, from like 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. plus a dinner. And it's intense training. We did active listening, we do sales training, marketing, branding. It is an intense, like an MBA training that you get that is all included in your normal $750 dues. There's no extra cost. Just that training has really taught me so much. And the whole time you're networking with all these other brilliant, people on their A game, really amazing people. You make really good friends. I talk to my other PQDs all the time. So it's a great network. And we were there with Dan Rex. He was there with us the whole time. He kept coming over and like, how you guys doing? You guys laugh at my jokes. It was just really, really a fun experience. Who else? Kate, any other questions?
Yeah, I have lots of questions, but I'll give others a chance.
All right, let's hear from some more folks. Who else has a question? This time is for you.
I do.
All right, whoever gets them unmute first wins. Tell us your name.
This is Vicki Hubbard. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
Vicki.
So I have a question about area director. If you want to get involved with these clubs so that you can have an impact, do you need to join them? Do you need to financially pay dues?
Okay, so Vicki, you're not an area director right now, right?
Correct. I'm just asking. the
Okay.
question.
Yeah, so you would apply, or you would send Diane your application to be an area director, and then we would appoint you, and you would not have to join the clubs. In fact, I think that'd probably be not a good thing. You would just visit them once or twice, as said. Your requirement is just once, and you write up a report on what's the experience like. It's just like a guest. Could you find the room? Did anyone greet you? Was there a printed agenda? Did anyone give a manual speech? You're basically like a mystery shopper, except that you actually do talk to the president before you show up and let them know. And there's a form that gives you a bunch of different criteria that you're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all part of the 750 dues. There's no extra cost to be an area director.
All right.
All right, I see
This
another
is-
Larry. Thank you, Vicki. Larry.
This is Larry Miller, and you just told her that the area director only has to visit once. They have to visit twice.
Once in the first 6 months and once in the second. Thank you,
Right.
Larry.
I know we're going to be voting later on about the best presentation, but I want to put my vote in right now for Lisa. Lisa did an excellent presentation both times. My question is that you said that some positions in the district are elected or appointed.
Mhm.
When are these, quote, other positions other than the trio and the area and division directors, when are they elected? I've never seen anybody vote on anything else.
No, everything's appointed. So area directors are appointed in our district and all the other chairs are appointed. So my goal, if I win, knock on wood, is that I would get all the chairs filled definitely by June 30th, right? That's like table stakes. But I'm hoping to get everything filled by May because I'm going to be running a training in June.
But
Does that help?
well, it was mentioned, I believe, at least twice that you said that there was some of these other positions were elected or appointed.
Yeah,
So
only,
only the trio and the division
And-
directors
yes,
are elected.
that's correct.
Okay, got you. I just thought maybe there were some others out there who were getting elected. I don't know.
Great question, Larry.
And division directors.
Yeah, I
he
said
mentioned,
division
he
directors
said.
in the trio.
Awesome, Larry. Thank you so much for your question. Let's hear from someone who hasn't said anything, who hasn't asked a question yet.
I have a recommendation.
Gaga Beer, tell us.
Yes, I would say the next person who was interested in finance role should come up the last quarter so they can do like internship with us and understand what's going on. So they're right from July 1st, they're ready to work. So otherwise it takes like first few weeks to understand. So recommendation is come up last week, quarter work with us.
I love it. That sounds awesome. All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I have may I?
Yes.
I would say that anyone that's on this call should be looking at people who are already involved in clubs and doing well and check in with them. I know I was one that waited to be asked and I said yes. So I think there's lots of people who maybe have interests, but they're not gonna go for it without being tapped. And I think that being tapped is a way to sometimes call attention to their skills to them. So I would encourage people to do that and to ask questions, but really in our own clubs, if we're seeing people that are showing leadership, ask them, have you thought about taking leadership on? And if they've been a president or been a club officer, ask them what their next role is and how that corresponds with the work that they're doing elsewhere in the world. So,
And hand them the forms.
and
Yes.
hand them the forms.
I really do remember when someone first told me that I should be president, I was like, oh my gosh, that's too scary, that's too big. And then finally they sort of like pushed me into it and I never looked back. So it's true. I think that we have to remember that there's a lot of people who do need that encouragement. You can say, I see something in you. Kevin, you want to add something?
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting. Last year there were several people who said, "Well, I want to be club growth director, but I don't think I'm ready." And I said, "Why don't you think you're ready?" And they couldn't really give me a good answer. Nobody joins a Toastmasters club because they think I am the best speaker. They join a Toastmasters club because they say I am ready to learn to be a better speaker. All right, so it's about where you want to go, not necessarily where you are right now. You're not going to have everything. In fact, I guarantee you're not going to have everything you think you need, but you're going to learn it on the way with the help of everybody around you who only wants to see you succeed in whatever it is you're trying to do and accomplish. So don't think you're not ready. That's what Toastmasters is all about. It's getting you ready. It's learning by doing.
That's an
This is
awesome
Diane.
reminder.
I'd like to add something
Diane.
as well.
Yes.
I believe we need a combination of people. We need both introverts and extroverts. So sometimes we have the stereotype that we need the extroverts, but we need the introverts. And we have a lot of people in Toastmasters that are introverts trying to learn some of those skills. So that combination is critical.
One more to tag on to that, Diane. When I first
Brenda.
joined Toastmasters, Steve Today was the director, and he made a speech, and it stuck with me, and it still sticks with me. And he said, maybe the next director will be you. Maybe you'll be a division director or an area director. And I remember sitting in there, shaking my head, and he looked at me and said, don't shake your head. I was so embarrassed. But let me tell you, I jumped right into the swing of it after his talk. I really did. I became an area director and took on the division director. I was a fall conference chair for our last one, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I got to tell you, we just got to dive in there. If you're an introvert, and I am an introvert, I know it doesn't sound like it, but I truly am. So just come on and join us.
Question. I know I see a few people smiling a lot, but they're not saying anything. Just saying hi to us to let us know you're still there. Anybody? And then I have one final thought.
I have one
Yes.
other question.
Yes, Vicky.
Yes. What is a DECM?
District Executive Council meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
We love our acronyms. They're once a month. They're going to be on the first Saturday of every month, except for ones where it's like a holiday or we have a conference or other things. I have the whole agenda, and I will be sharing that out also.
Okay. Thank you.
Any last final questions? And then I have one final thought. Don't be shy. It's Toastmasters. Kate?
So one of the things that has sort of been a little frustrating, it's an interesting experience where everybody in Toastmasters has the same fiscal year. And you get these brand new deer in the headlight club officers, and then eventually they get a little training in next month or so, and hopefully somebody's mentoring them, but that doesn't always happen. And then we have the same at the area directors and all, not people filling new roles as volunteers with different capacities and figuring things out. So one of the things is the crossover fiscal years. I wonder if there might be some wiggle room to address that. In fact, I changed one of my HPL projects for this reason, to instead of trying to get it done by the end of the Toastmaster year, I'm straddling it over the end of this one and the start of the next one, because I need that continuity of it happens to be a pathways thing, but I noticed that it's sort of like a month or two before everybody gets oriented and figures out what they're supposed to be doing and who they're supposed to report to and what their tools are. And I just wondered if we could maybe take a look at that at some point, and maybe push that mentoring a little bit further. Maybe, holy smokes, I'm so glad July 1st is here, June 30th I'm out of here. And maybe we could, some people mentor, they continue to mentor, and that's great, but I think that's a really important facet of Toastmasters, to make sure that you're bringing people along, and when they're ready, you let them go and move on to something else. You follow?
Yes.
I noticed that we have a lot of, I don't know what, I wouldn't say wasted time, but I would say a lot of bouncing off the walls and stuff. And I think we can do better than that as a district. And that's something-
Amen.
and so I'm trying to figure out roles. People are encouraging me to put into for different roles. And
Well, I have a plan, Kate, and I'm hoping to get all of the positions filled by May so that we can have a month and more than that to mentor the replacements and have training in June. So I'm really trying to start early, just like you're suggesting. So I really appreciate it. So I do want to end on time because everyone's got lives. So I just want to say one final thing. I was at my club meeting the other day and a guest came. He had been there 3 months ago. He shows up again. He was invited by the president, who they both came at the same time as a guest. And now his friend is the president of the club. And he said the reason why he hadn't joined yet is because he was preparing because he didn't know how to give speeches yet. So he hadn't joined the club or even come back because he didn't know how to give speeches yet. So I think this is the same thing that Kevin was saying, is that we really need to just jump in, and that's when we learn. So even if we don't feel ready right now, you learn on the job, and it's a caring, supportive environment. That's, Gaudenbeer was just mentioning, everyone's here to help you. Brenda had an amazing year last year because she asked for help. All of us have to ask for help, and that's how we get there. So that was my final thought. And I just thank you all so much. This recording will be available, and please share it with anyone who you think has a spark that we could use to have an amazing next year. Thank you all and have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.